Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Marvelous Unboxing. So in today's episode, we're going to be going over our first WandaVision action figure. Now, of course, we're going with none other than the infamous Scarlet Witch. Now, of course, this Scarlet Witch is featured in her most iconic costume, which we get to see at the very last scenes of the actual series WandaVision. Taking a quick look through the window, we can obviously see that this character actually features a lot of accessories. Now, we're not going to dive into them just yet, but you can just tell, taking a quick look at the box, we have some hands, I believe, and we have some little red stripes that we got to see from the Infinity War package, and of course, we get to see a piece of the Build-A-Figure. And of course, if we take a quick side view of the box, I think the Scarlet Witch on here looks really realistic. It actually looks a lot like Wanda. Now here's a much better portrayal of the actual figure right here. As you can see, it definitely resembles a lot. It's almost like a picture. And we took a quick description at the side. It says Wanda Maximus abilities of telekinesis, energy manipulation, and neuroelectric interfacing allow her to read through thoughts and give her targets walking nightmares, which is a big reference to Age of Ultron. I don't really remember if she actually pulled off anything like that, except for that one time she did it to Agatha. And of course, we gotta take a quick look at the Build-A-Figure, and we can see that Wanda is actually the first character in the line as far as numbers go. The next one is, of course, the Vision. And as we see, number 1 is actually this part of the wing, which we have done number 5, which is of course a US agent. So number 1 and number 5 can actually connect, but to actually build a wing, we would need number 2. So hopefully tomorrow or in some days we actually get to see the Vision and actually get to build some of the wing, and I'll be able to show you guys how big the wings actually get without actually spoiling the Build-A-Figure. But that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and actually unbox this character. I just wanted to point out something real quick, that I did see that they decided to add some little TV static to it, which I thought was pretty cool. I know with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's almost forgetful, but this actually looks pretty cool. Alrighty, so diving straight into the accessories, we can see that there is 4 hot pink pieces, which I thought was pretty peculiar. I didn't realize that these were actually hands. We could just take a quick zoom in through here. We can see this thing wants to zoom in, but that looks really cool. You can even tell that they went as far. If this wants to zoom in any better, gonna see my ugly fingers, but you can actually tell that the fingertips and the glove actually separates. I don't know if you guys can actually see that through the camera. It's kind of hard to tell based on the quality of the camera, but you can tell the actual glove and the fingertips actually start to divide, and there's a significant difference, which, you know, of course her hands are like this. As when we switch over to the actual figure, we get to see that she's wearing gloves and partial of her fingertips are actually showing, but it's almost translucent. You of course can see through light through it, which is pretty cool. And of course, oh, my fingers. And of course we get to see, let me just zoom out here real quick. We of course get to see that they still have the articulation there, and I think it's pretty cool because you can see the articulation through the actual hand, as you can tell right there. And the other hand is just exactly like that, but it is opposite. I think they might have the exact same hand maneuvers in a way. They look pretty similar. We can actually just, they look almost similar, where it looks like the pinky is a little bit fuller than the other one, but it looks like the rest of the hand is roughly about the same. Here's a forefront view of it, and there's a back view of it. Now the other part of the accessory is the same thing that they decided to include from the actual Infinity War Wanda and Vision. They decided to add this little pick element. Now I don't know if this is the exact same piece. It kind of does look like it, and honestly these are not the same, but of course I don't know if they're the same color as well, but I would not be surprised if they decided to just use the same pieces. Obviously it's an iconic piece from Scarlet Witch, so a little bit flexible, a little bit gummy-ish like. Of course, to just wrap it around the arm. It does open all the way up, so you can just wrap it back up like that. And the other one is of course the same. Now they're not identical, they actually have some big similarities. You wouldn't want these to look exactly the same. And last but not least, we have another piece from the Build-A-Figure. Now this Build-A-Figure piece is actually going to connect with the US agent piece, which, alrighty, moving on to the actual action figure. I think the hair is something that they have done astronomically. I've already said this before in the Funko Pops, that they did a wonderful job with the hair. Of course, it looks great. Now here the hair, it looks a little bit strange, but I do think it looks great. Of course, this is plastic and it's not real life hair. It doesn't have any volume to it. It's molded, but I think nonetheless they did a pretty good job. I think in the actual show it's kind of a frizzy. Oh, this actually kind of pulls down. That's pretty neat. But this is the crown she wears. But nonetheless, her hair actually just kind of maneuvers here and there. It's more flat, but this looks like when she's like floating in space. And of course, her hands are not actually powered up right now. We've removed the actual power-up bands right here. So right now she's just lollygagging around. But I think everything else is pretty good. Now, of course, the neck articulation is roughly the same. I think we can even pop off the head as well. Yep. There we go. As we can tell, we can get a full view of Scarlet Witch's hair, and I think it looks kind of weird, actually. It looks honestly really weird whenever you get a full view of it like this, because of course when you pop the head back on, you can't really get a grasp of the hair that's going on back there. But I think when you popped off the head, it does give it a extremely weird look. Now we move on to the actual arms. I gotta say that they are a lot thinner, which of course is to be expected. The arms and the shoulders are extremely a lot thinner comparing it to the other characters that we had. The shoulders, again, same shoulder articulation. It's kind of hard to tell as there's no designs to actually where it's going. You can kind of twist it and it still resembles like it goes in that particular place, but articulation is the same. It doesn't look like you'll be able to bend it all the way back just because of the hair that's going to be in the way. You could bend it back this way and that way, but you'll have to probably twist Scarlet Witch to actually get some maneuvering going on, rather than the other characters we can just freely spin them. But this looks like it's a ball joint and you'll be able to spin it freely like that. Look at that. And we move on to the actual elbow movement, and again, pretty accurate. I think it looks, or I think it goes roughly about the same as normal human anatomy. So I gotta say I don't think it goes all. Nope, that looks fractured. And it looks like you can actually spin this as well. That's pretty neat. We're gonna move on to the hands, and it looks like, well, again, we're gonna have the same articulation, up and down move. Wow. Looks like we have side to side movement rather than up and down. That's pretty bizarre. I think the hands actually, look at that, shaking your hand. I believe the other light up hands actually do have up and down rather than having side to side. But again, the other arm is going to have exactly the same. I do believe it's also going to be side to side. That is quite strange. Let me know if you guys have gotten the side to side. I don't know if this is supposed to be like that. All the characters I've gotten so far from the Marvel Legends have been up and down. Unless I'm just getting it right. This one just seems to go. Sure enough, it only goes side to side. Moving on with the rest of the outfit, we get to see her abdomen actually go up and down, again, to give her some cool flying poses, which is, again, in correlation with the Captain America. As you can see right here, there is a large gap right here, which it's kind of weird. It looks pretty big. It looks like you can actually fit some stuff. Yep. Yeah, that's not really sure. I wish they would have cut that hole, but I guess most of the times you really won't have her up like that. But that's the articulation it has around her waist. It looks like there is almost none articulation as it goes 360. We only have this one right here, and it looks like they decide to compensate with giving us the 360 on her abdomen as well. So that's probably why there's a gap right there, rather than it being completely filled, to give her some 360. Now, of course, due to her little robe that goes all the way down, there is no waist movement right here. As you can tell, I'm twisting as hard as I can. There is absolutely none. And we move down to the actual legs to try and twist them. Again, there is none right there, or at least doesn't look like there is. So it looks like they decided to compensate with adding some abdomen twist. And I think it looks great. If you pose her up like this, it does look like she's genuinely flying. Now moving on to the actual legs. Again, there's not going to be too much articulation just because of this wardrobe, or this robe is actually going to make it kind of hard. You'll be able to move everything up to the front, just the same as usual. Again, right here in between the waist is going to be able to go up. Her knees are going to be able to go up as well, and you'll be able to twist them back some bit just like that. Looks like she's about to jump off her cape. But it looks like you can actually bend these all the way back like that. Now, of course, her feet are going to have the same articulation, the same up and down movement. Oh, wow. Really broken. That is by far some of the biggest joint movement that I've seen in the feet. I wonder how far they go back. They go. Looks like they don't go back very far, probably due to the clashing between the heel and the other side of the leg. But as far as it goes forward, I think it goes really, really forward. As far as the details go throughout the actual legs, again, it's just regular black pants and a little red line going throughout them. So nothing too crazy. As far as the cape goes on the back, I think it looks great. This has had some little bit of texture and wrinkles to it to actually make it look like it's realistic rather than just making it stale and simple. The colors are incredible on this. I think they look genuinely good. Now we just pose her up like this with her heels pointing out. I think it looks great to give her some nice posing. If we quickly go over some of the details on the actual face, I think it does partially resemble Scarlet Witch. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but the actress Elizabeth Olsen, I believe. Hopefully I got it right. I think the resemblance is it's pretty good. I know she typically does have deep lines going throughout her face for her, coarse face symmetry or whatever you call it. But I think that's something that they did right. I know every time I see her, she has like these lines. Now, forgive me, I don't remember exactly what they're called off the top of my head, but she does have nice facial structure. So I think for the most part, this is right. Now, as far as the hair goes, this is kind of a more witchy side of hair. It's all over the place, and it looks kind of bizarre and cool at the same time. But as far as the details go throughout her face, I think they did a pretty good job. Now, if you ask me who this was and try to compare it to Elizabeth Olsen without me knowing who Elizabeth was, I would say I'd have a pretty hard time of actually identifying it. But I think for the most part, if you are a Scarlet Witch fan, you would probably know who this is off the top of your head. Now, of course, as far as the actual costume goes, it's not too much complication. It's really just a bunch of lines and good symmetry, really. They did a pretty good job at painting and putting together the entire uniform. And let's see if we can actually take a quick look at the back. It even goes as far as adding details to the back. So I think that's a pretty good catch to decide to do. Now, we, of course, decide to add the actual accessories to the Scarlet Witch, and I think they look great when you actually add the pink little stripes that go throughout it. It looks pretty weird when you actually remove them, mostly because it just looks like her hands are have been on the stove for a little too long. So I think it's almost necessary to add the little pink elements to look like the power is actually surging throughout her hands. Without it, it just kind of does not look very good. You'd probably be better off adding the actual hands and then adding the pink stripes rather than just leaving the pink hands on there. But I think for the most part, I think this character has actually a lot of accessories, or at least by far the most accessories that we have seen so far out of all the Marvel Legends I've gone over. Now, we're not done yet, so that could be fought off later on. Alrighty, so I want to do a little comparison to the knockoff one real quick. I just found it lying on the floor. But this is the knockoff one. I don't remember this one actually carries any accessories rather than her face, because I don't know if you guys remember seeing this, but her face is pretty scary to look at. But this is as far as we can get. I don't have the Infinity War ones, nor do I have the Civil War Scarlet Witch, so this is the only comparison we have, unfortunately. But I think the only thing they nailed that with the knockoff one was the actual costume. I don't know about colors, really. I think the colors are kind of spot on. If you look at it from the back, I think it might actually look like Scarlet Witch, but once you turn it around, it that quickly disappears, like literally lightning quick. But this is a comparison. They're really about the actual almost height. Again, this is almost in correlation with the actual Marvel Legends, so nothing really differentiates between them. Of course, the face is pretty hideous, I'm not gonna lie. We'll even zoom this up just in case you guys do not believe me. But yep, there we go. Enjoy. Alrighty, so we're going to conclude today's episode right here. I gotta say that Scarlet Witch is probably one of the most powerful and most iconic characters that I have actually come to recognize, really. She showed up pretty late in the MCU, and of course, I didn't get into the MCU till Infinity War roll around, so getting to see her first appearance in Civil War was actually, I believe it was Age of Ultron actually. It was pretty cool. I think her evolution has really done her well, especially getting to see how she actually became the Scarlet Witch and I really hope we get to see more of a Scarlet Witch rather than Wanda Maximoff. Looks like we've kind of dove more into the whole Wanda Maximoff field rather than Scarlet Witch. And I know she currently did just get the name Scarlet Witch, yeah, whatever. But I hope we get to dive more into her actual background. It turns out that I'm not a big comic fan, of course, but it does look like she did get some powers, or she was sort of some sort of witch before she actually became the official Scarlet Witch, or at least got her powers from the Infinity Stone. So I'm hoping to get to see more from her. I'm really excited for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's one of the movies I'm most hyped about, so I hope it's not a flop. I'm really ready for it. I'm of course ready for the other Marvel movies, but that's just one of those movies that I cannot wait for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to Hulk smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and of course, comment and share. I'll see you guys in the next episode with The Vision. See you guys later. Peace out.